What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Thursday. Thursday there, Thirsty Thursday. Dan Kasper Show's on the air. Appreciate you all checking us out wherever, however. You may be tuning in. Maybe you're snowed in. Maybe you're stuck or whatever. You can't head out on the roads or you got the day off today, whatever. Or maybe if you are out on the road and you're driving out there, be careful. But appreciate you tuning in and making us part of your start, whether it is on those radio dials or maybe it's a little online, sportstalk1051.com. Got the video stream up and at it at YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Of course, stream it at, I just said that right, sportstalk1051.com. And then the app in your Google and Alexa home devices. But again, be careful out there if you're just maybe starting to get ready to hit out on the roads. I think before kind of walked in the studio, saw it snowing again a little bit out there. But in case you're wondering, pretty much like it seems like I think everything's pretty much closed in terms of school-wise. But good idea to double check it with our school closings and delays brought to you by Hovland and Service Master of Chippewa Valley up at sportstalk1051.com. Right there on the left-hand side, you'll see that expansive list over there. All right, so even though it is a little bit of a poo-poo type of weather day out there, what do we got on the game plan here this morning? Hey, Badger Hoops got a victory against Iowa last night. That's always a good thing unless you're an Iowa fan, right? So Badgers picking up their 16th victory on the season, improving to a 16-11. Connor Segan, 17 points, lead the Badgers. Chucky Hepburn getting out of his little funk there, contributing 12. Tyler Wall, 11 points. So Badgers picking up a much needed win, and they were pretty darn solid from the field there. 52.1% went down a little bit. I mean, if you take away their 3-point percentage, where they were just 4 of 18 from three for 22.2%, but within three, pretty darn solid. So, but much needed win for Badger Hoops last night as the regular season is starting to wrap up here. When you're looking at it, just 3 more games left in the regular season for the Badgers. They got a date at Michigan coming up on the 26th, which is Sunday. And then that home game against Purdue on March 2nd. And then not too far from us over here, just across the border, finishing up their regular season on the 5th at Minnesota. Obviously, if they can win out, including what would be a huge win against Purdue, that would maybe help make their case here a little bit to get into that tournament. But we shall see. Right now, Badgers are still 10th in the conference. They're above Penn State, Nebraska, Ohio State, and Minnesota. Game behind Iowa. 5 overall back from Purdue, but we shall see. We shall see how this all kind of plays out here. So, chat a little college hoops here as we get closer to the end of the regular season coming up here. In case you're wondering too, for Marquette, they got their game against DePaul coming up on Saturday. I always like saying DePaul. But I know you guys probably chatted a little bit about it yesterday. They did get that victory over Creighton on Tuesday night. So another ranked victory for the Golden Eagles of Marquette over there. What else do we got on the docket? We got a little bit of a Giannis update as the Bucks kind of returning to practice last night, in case you don't have the social medias like Twitter and such. But some of the reporters there were able to chat a little bit with Mike Budenholzer and such. Kind of get a little bit. It was a little coy though about Giannis. Mike Budenholzer saying, "I would say Giannis did some of practice or limited practice today. No real update on his status. I think we'll just take it day by day and see how he's feeling and just do what's best for him." Chris Middleton did do some work. Budenholzer saying, "I think he had a really good break. He looked good today. And we're optimistic that he's in a very good place and did everything in practice today, and we'll see how he feels tomorrow, which would be today. Bucks have their first game since the All-Star break tomorrow night, going up against the Heat of Miami. We know it's well past the second half of the season here, but it's going to come at you fast. Just 3 games left in this month, and then we turn the calendar next week, and that's the last full month of the NBA season. Just a few games into April, and then bada bing, bada boom, we're into the postseason already. So we got a little Bucks chat lined up for you. We've got our first spring training game for the Brewers coming up this weekend. Inching a little bit closer to that. MLB.com, they listed a Brewer as one of these bounce back hitters. 5 hitters they picked poised to bounce back this year. And there is a Milwaukee Brewer on that top 5 list. That'd be Jesse Winker. Here's a little nugget here in case you didn't realize too. American Family Field, where the Brewers play, ranks the 5th best home run park for lefties. And Jesse Winker, obviously a lefty over there. So, I think that's where a lot of people are kind of expecting, if he can stay healthy. That's the number one key in this whole thing. If the guy can stay healthy, hopefully he can put up some numbers like he did just a few years ago before he was playing with Seattle over there, which isn't the greatest ballpark for his type of offensive play. But obviously he spent some long time with Cincinnati and such. So I think the Brewers are hoping that he can kind of get back to his self, what he was with the Reds there. But MLB.com, they got him at top 5 spot there. So we'll chat a little baseball as we get closer to our first spring training game coming up this weekend, which you will be able to hear here on the radio dials. Remember, too, when it comes to like Bucks games and Brewers, I know with the baseball season coming up here, we're not allowed to stream it. So, don't send us any messages. Well, why is it not on the internet? We're not allowed to. All right. So you got to listen to it on the radio dials. Okay. 105.1 FM and 790 AM. We'll chat a little football too, as maybe we are getting a little bit closer to decision time about Mr. Rogers. Sorry, G-Man and Greg and Tyler and Corey and Surveyor, you're all eliminated from our Rogers pool there. Nobody picked today. We got the Honorable Travis from A-Town coming up, Bloomer Tony also coming up here in the next couple of days and such, but I don't know if he's out of his darkness yet or not. But got a couple of clips in the last 24, 36-ish hours from the likes of Jeff Darlington from ESPN, who has kind of a little bit of a nugget regarding Aaron Rodgers. Tom Pelissero, also his thoughts on Aaron Rodgers. We're going to play a couple of those clips here in just a second. But after I play some of these clips too, has it kind of, after the dust has maybe settled a little bit since the season has been over with, has your kind of gut leading you in a different direction one way or the other, whether you think Mr. Rogers is going to be back or not? So that, but also there's also another report out there, Twitter report, online report, that the and Lazard kind of confirmed it a little bit too with his interview with Sirius XM the other day. But there was a report out there that the Packers are working with Alan Lazard's representation on trying to bring him back to Green Bay to re-sign Alan Lazard. And Lazard, again, kind of confirmed it, saying that his agent and the Packers have kind of started up some conversations and such. So how big of a priority should it be for Green Bay to go out there and bring back Alan Lazard? How big of a priority should it? We went, if you kind of look at Spot Track out there, and Spot Track over the cap, if you want to look at some contract information and such, I believe, let me see if I can bring it up here in a timely fashion here on Spot Track, but they had a market value for Alan Lazard. Yeah, the market value for Alan Lazard, according to Spot Track here, is, and again, this doesn't mean this is what he's going to get, But they got it at $12.5 million per year, 3 years, about $37.5 million contract. And again, let's reminder it's not necessarily the average. It's not as easy as like 3 years divided by 37 and a half, and that's what the cap hit's going to be every single year. That's wish it were that easy, but it's not. So it could be as something. Let's say it's this type of contract. Well, his first year salary could probably be just a few $1,000,000 if you go kind of a typical contract route because they're going to get a signing bonus, all that up front. First year base salary is going to be a little bit lower. Cap hit will probably be a little bit lower in the first year. But let's use this as kind of a marker. If it's going to cost about a 3 years, $12.5 million salary, is it worth it? Or I shouldn't say is it worth it? That's a little extreme. But would you be okay? Would you be good bringing back Alan Lazard for a dollar amount like that? Comparison sakes, MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling last year when he signed up with the Chiefs, 3 years, $30 million. So this would be more. This would be a little bit more, obviously. Is that too high, too low, just right? Or maybe you're like, I don't care. I want Alan Lazard back. Do what it takes. How big of a priority should it be to bring Alan Lazard? And do you think a lot of it will depend on whether quarterback 12 or quarterback 10 is going to be the starter this next year? So before we head to break here, though, for our opening drive, I'll play those clips. I'll play the first clip from Jeff Darlington and kind of give you a little bit of an update on what he apparently has heard, or he, you know what? I'll just let him kind of explain it here. But so we got that coming up. It is a Thirsty Thursday, so if you have any shout outs, hit us up with a text. If it's some good ones out there, we'll send those out. We'll do a little receiver defer coming up at around 7:45. If you have any receiver defer questions you would like to send on over, do so. Always like it when all of you send some questions on over for a little receiver defer. So send those puppies on over. I will double check with Jake to see if we have an outdoor tidbits or not. Depends on the weather for him and driving and such. And we're going to do a little something new here, a little Throwback Thursday. We're probably going to get that in about 8:05. So we'll kind of a little new segment coming up about 8:05 Throwback Thursday. So, but let's get things rolling here this morning as let's chat a little football to open up things. So let me I'll play the clip from Jeff Darlington first, and then I'll play the Tom Pelissero one coming up after the break here. But we got to be getting closer to decision time, and there's been a lot of one way or the other. We talked about the other day, Bob McGinn saying Packers are done with him, but how connected is Bob McGinn again with the Packers? As of we don't know. Jeff Darlington, though, from ESPN, had this to say yesterday morning. All right, so there's that one right there. Jeff Darlington, he's a pretty smart individual over there. The other point, it didn't have to deal with Aaron Rodgers. Talked about what apparently Derek Carr, or apparently what the Jets told Derek Carr about being a Hall of Famer if he signs with the Jets. So, but all right, so you got that. Tom Pelissero kind of alluded to the same thing, a little bit longer, so that's why I'm going to play it coming up after the break here. But what I want to ask you, listeners, lovely listeners out there, from let's say January to where we're at now, or at the from the close of the regular season to what we are all assuming is going to be a decision coming up here, has maybe you or maybe what you originally wanted at the beginning, maybe you were like, I want the Love era to start. Now that the dust has kind of settled a little bit, have you wavered on that at all? Or maybe you're like, I want Rodgers back, and maybe you've gone the opposite end. It's like, no, I'd rather have the Love era start. Or what is your gut telling you right now? And then I want to got the Alan Lazard question out there. How big of a priority should it be for the Packers to go out there and bring back Alan Lazard? Or maybe do you think instead of, if we're using that $12.5 million per year, a 3-year, $37.6 million contract, you would like to see the Packers maybe go and get one of those tight ends? Now we know the draft is pretty darn good with tight ends. But the one thing that I've always read over the years and talking with some people who are the draft gurus out there and scouts and such, they've always said tight ends are one of the more difficult positions to kind of figure out when it comes to the draft. And I think there's no better example of that when you look at the top tight ends in the league right now. They weren't first round picks. Travis Kelce wasn't a first round pick. George Kittle wasn't a first round pick. Even Gronkowski, when he was playing, wasn't a first round pick. And I think that's what a lot of people kind of allude to when they say tight ends are a little bit difficult to kind of forecast when it comes to the draft. And then you look at some of the guys out there that potentially could be available. Gesicki from the Dolphins, who had a down year this past year, new offensive scheme, maybe doesn't fit into it. Dalton Schultz, I got to imagine the Cowboys would love to bring him back and maybe he gets franchise tag and such. Evan Ingram, who had a bounce back year for the Jaguars. Obviously Robert Tonyan, Hayden Hurst is also out there. Irv Smith from Minnesota. So, kind of curious to get your thoughts on that. Hit me up with some text, tweets. Hit me up with a tweet at DANKASPER or on Facebook, facebook.com/Kasper Sports. The Shoe Doctors bullpen line with a text, 715-830-1912. All right, let's get things rolling here this morning. Talk a little football on our opening drive. Feeling sore from all the snow shoveling we've been doing, maybe doing recently right now too. Got some aches and pains from lifting all that snow, scoop by scoop. Well, we can't stop the snow from coming, but it is possible to help alleviate that pain with help from our good friends at Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. The fantastic team from Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine can help reduce your pain and enjoy the ease of your daily activities. You can request an appointment today by just simply visiting cvosm.com. Maybe you'll get that appointment with our good buddy, Dr. Crow, who you hear Fridays for our Inside the Training Room segment just past 7 o'clock every Friday morning. All right, let's get things started off here on the opening drive. So it's kind of like, all right, now everybody's just waiting. You're starting to see teams in the NFL make some moves. We saw the Titans, releasing their left tackle, Taylor Lewan, Robert Woods. They started the day off, was it yesterday, like $20-some million over the salary cap, and now they've got about 4-ish million available. We're hearing some reports that the Packers are talking with Alan Lazard about a new contract to return to Green Bay, and Alan Lazard kind of confirmed that himself, that his agent and the Packers have been kind of talking right now, kind of feeling each other out in that sort of process. But maybe Green Bay is also kind of like, all right, we've got to figure out the quarterback position. You just heard Jeff Darlington from the mothership, from ESPN. Smart individual out there. He apparently talked to a high-ranking Packers official, saying that they believe this whole thing is getting blown out of proportion and Aaron will be back with the team. How about Tom Pelissero from the NFL Network? He was on the Rich Eisen show the other day. Tom covered the Packers for a few years. Probably has still some sources, I would imagine, within that Packers organization. Here's what he told Rich Eisen just the other day. Audio courtesy from the Rich Eisen show.
Current scoop with Aaron.
All right, so there you go. That's a little bit there from Tom Pelissero. NFL Network also covered the Packers for a few years at the Green Bay Packers.com. And well, he got his career started here in Eau Claire too. So we got those. It's kind of a little bit of a different, let's say, last 24, 36-ish hours from where there was. I mean, you essentially we're getting like people's opinions and thoughts from all across the board, right? Packers are sick of him. No, actually, the Green Bay Packers want him back. Yada yada yada. Nobody in their right mind actually knows what in the BT double hockey sticks is going on at this point. But I've my personal feeling, my personal thoughts on the whole thing is that I've I've gone back and forth on this in this very short off season so far. A couple weeks ago, I was probably, in my little head meter sort of thing, thinking, okay, it's trending a little bit more towards I don't think he will be back. I think he will be traded. But it's gone back about a week ago. I would say it's gone back to where I feel like it's trending more that all is gonna be suited up in the green and gold, green and yellow. That's just my gut, and I go back to, I think it was Jeff Darlington from ESPN, his comment about that contract. That was something that, after the season was over with, and I was talking to somebody about it was shortly after because, it was this whole narrative again about is he gonna be traded, and it kinda, like, sparked wildfire again. It started off with, again, a comment or an accumulation of information from Adam Schefter saying, about the potential of trades and that sort of thing, and I'm just like, "Okay, these 2 sides less than a year ago agreed to a new deal for 3 years that, I mean, really showed the commitment from the Packers side, in my opinion, on wanting Aaron around for a couple years. Why are we still talking about trades less than a year after that deal? Why are we talking about that? Why is that a thing again after a new contract? That was just something that was always kind of bugging me. And then, you hear Jeff Darlington say that, according to his high-ranking Packers official, it's kind of getting overblown out there. And you kind of wonder, is it really getting overblown? Clickbait, talking points, contents. Was it never really as how do I want to phrase this? Was there ever really real scenario? I mean, maybe there is about the potential of Rodgers being traded or wanting out of Green Bay. Now, going back to his postseason comments where he said, it's a two-sided thing. I'm trying to get into the mind of Aaron, which is a dangerous and deep, dark hole. And I don't know if I necessarily want to get into it, but where he said, "Hey, it's a two-sided sort of thing." I mean, I think he was right in the sense that, hey, after this type of season where they missed the postseason, if the organization wants to go a little bit of a younger route, they want to hand it off to Jordan Love now, and they want to kind of do that quote rebuild. Well, then, hey, I'm not going to be a part of that. And I think he was kind of alluding to maybe the fact, hey, if they change their mind based off of how the season as transpired, how it went, then yeah, there maybe is that possibility that he won't finish his career there. So I think that's kind of what he was referring to because I mean, you go to when training camp opened. I mean, everybody was like, okay, he's saying he's going to retire as a Packers. So what changed from then to January? And maybe it was just based off how the season went, missing the postseason. Obviously didn't hit the expectations that they thought, that the goals that they had. But I'm kinda teetering towards that. I my Rodgers-o-meter, if you will, it's kind of back, and it was this way last week even before all this Bob McGinn talks and Jeff Darlington and Tom there. It was kind of teetering a little bit more towards, I think he's going to be back in Green Bay. And I'm still there. I still feel like it. And I still feel like some of it has to deal with the fact that, like, I don't know if we would ever get this answer. Like, this would be my press pass question. I don't know if we would ever get this answer, but, like, you look at it, I know I brought it up on Tuesday, I think it was. You look at the rest of the NFC and you look at the quarterback play or the quarterbacks that are currently in the NFC right now. And, I mean, if you're Goody or if you're the Packers and you kind of take a look at that and you're like, okay, do we try to take advantage of that? Do we kind of, Aaron wants to come back. We do bring him back, knowing that the NFC right now, my opinion, is a weaker conference than the AFC, and a lot of it has to deal with the quarterback talents. Knowing what you have with Aaron Charles Rodgers, you try to maybe take a swing with that. I don't know. I'd like to know if that's kind of part of the thought process, truthfully. And then you got the Allen Lazard report from yesterday that the Packers and Allen Lazard's representation kind of started some talks, kind of, like opening up some talks about maybe coming back, new contract and such. Allen Lazard kind of confirmed it that his agent and the Packers have kind of talking and starting up conversations and such, and maybe kind of feeling out where that money's going to be or what Lazard's kind of looking for at this point. And if we use the Spot Track market value, they've got it at $12.5 million per year. A 3-year deal, about $12.5 million per year. Would you be okay if Allen Lazard got a contract like that? Now, the thing is, again, don't necessarily look at 12.5 per year and think that's the cap hit. Most likely it's not going to be, especially in that first year, right? We've explained it how many times. Base salary is going to be low in that first year. It's all going to be about what kind of signing bonus and the guaranteed portion is going to be. So first year's probably going to be a little bit smaller of a cap hit. So if it's like a 3-year deal, maybe it actually is only going to be a 2-year deal or something like that with potential to get out after 2 years. I don't know. But I have to imagine, too, that Allen Lazard and his representation, maybe they don't want to sign just a 2 or 3-year deal. It's easy for us to say, I'll sign them to a 2 or 3-year deal. They may not want to do that. This might be Allen Lazard's first and only shot at a big-time contract. And I think we get caught in this mindset that just give him a 3-year, and that we think that, and then we just assume that they're going to sign that. No, I mean, think about it from your side. If you get offered a 5-year deal from some other team, but it's for more money and more guaranteed money, you're probably going to take that one more times than not. 9 times out of 10. Not everybody's an Aaron Jones. It takes pay cuts. Not everybody operates that way. And in Allen Lazard's case, it's a little bit different because, well, he hasn't had a big contract yet. He's been a restricted free agent and getting tendered and all that sort of stuff. So, and this might be his first and perhaps last shot at getting a bigger deal. So, to me, this is going to be kind of a tricky, fascinating kind of negotiation here if Green Bay is dead set on bringing Allen Lazard back. I think they would love to have 13 back. I think they would love. He does so much for that offense. Is he a number one wide receiver? No, probably not. When I think of a number one wide receiver, I think of a Jamar Chase. I think of a Justin Jefferson. I think of, those type of players. Is Allen Lazard being asked to do other stuff besides those players that could maybe hinder his stats? Yeah, I mean, the guy is a great blocker as a wide receiver. Matt LaFleur has called him a war horse, does a bunch of different things. But from a pure talent perspective, is he of the level of what we just, the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase? I'd probably say no. Could he be a 2 or 3? No, yeah, I think so. And I think Allen Lazard, and maybe we haven't seen the full potential of what Allen Lazard could do. Maybe we haven't. I don't know. But I also feel like Allen Lazard, from what we have seen so far, just based off what we've seen so far, it almost feels like he's got to find that perfect fit within that style of offense too, that really can kind of utilize his talents the best, right? We always say this about like coaches and game planning and general managers and such, not fitting, square pegs into a round hole. And I think from what we've seen from Allen Lazard so far this year, he is a player that excels or can excel in the right situation in certain offensive schemes, if you will. We've seen that with different players throughout their whole careers, right? We've seen that. Allen Lazard does things extremely well at the wide receiver position that other wide receivers can't do, but other teams won't ask their number one wide receivers to, take on 3 blockers. You're not going to ask Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson probably a whole lot to be involved in in blocking in the running game. They're just not going to do that. It's a business decision and, well, probably a talent decision there too. But 12.5. Again, we're just using it as a base, and I know that cap hit would be fine in the first year, but then you got to worry about dead caps and that sort of thing. Boy, I mean, I feel like there's going to be at least a team, maybe a couple teams that would offer more to Allen Lazard than what Green Bay would. I just feel like that's going to be the case, especially teams that, they've got a lot more money to play with. Maybe a team like Chicago, who's got nearly $100 million left in or available in cap space. Maybe it's a team like that can be like, you know what? We can offer you a few more $1 million more. They would like nothing more than to increase their wide receiver depth. And their offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy, pretty darn familiar with Allen Lazard. So you just kind of, you look at situations like that where it's like you got an offensive coordinator that has worked for a few years with Allen Lazard, knows exactly what he's about, knows what he can do, knows how to put him in a position to perhaps succeed. And they've got a boatload of cash to spend. Cash that they have to spend. I feel like Green Bay is going to be outbid for Lazard's services. I'd like him back. I just feel like it's going to be a lot of money to try to keep him around. And is bringing Allen Lazard back, should that be the number one priority in this offseason? Should that be the top thing? Or would you rather see that money perhaps go to bringing in a veteran tight end? Maybe spending a little bit more out there. Or maybe you're of the mindset, bring back Robert Tonyan. And then, draft high in the draft for one of these tight ends that everybody's talking about out there. Or maybe you'd like them to see bring in Hayden Hurst or, Dalton Schultz probably out there. I know some Packers fans, at least on the social medias, have been talking about Mike Gesicki, tight end from the Dolphins there. Now Robert Woods is available on the open market. I'm sure there's some Packers fans out there kind of clamoring for, to bring him in. Because I feel like still with Christian Watson and how he ended the season, obviously the arrow's trending up. Romeo Dobbs, I think there's people excited about him too. But I would still like a veteran, perhaps a couple of veterans in that wide receiver room. I necessarily wouldn't I wouldn't be too comfortable, I guess, if your veterans are second-year players. I'd still like a couple of guys in there, whether it is Alan Lazard or maybe, Robert Woods, who we know he's 30 years old, going to be 31 when the season starts. What his market value is and that sort of thing. But I do think bringing in at least a couple of veteran wide receivers to this group is still important for Green Bay. But if it's going to cost what some of the market values out there for Lazard right now, is it? I don't know. That's going to be tough because then you're going to have to make some hard decisions elsewhere. You're already what? How much over the salary cap right now? And does it kind of factor in whether Rodgers is the quarterback or not? Interesting to follow along, though. But hey, free agency starts up here in a few weeks, couple weeks here. When does that? When does that start? Let me look it up here before I have to take this break here. Come on, March 15th. Okay, so we got a few weeks yet. Well, it's under a month, but got a few weeks yet. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll finish up the first hour here this morning. And then coming up next hour, I want to talk a little baseball. Brewers getting close to spring training. First game. voting is up. If you haven't gone to Mike's Star Market yet to grab your finalists to try to figure out our new brat flavor up there, go and do it, and then head to after you taste test it, of course, head to sportstalk1051.com and vote. Vote on your favorite one. Is it the dill pickle, cheddar, and bacon? Is it the jalapeno and bacon? Is it the taco flavored brat? Snatch 6. You got the pizza flavored one and the Parmesan garlic. Go, stop by, get yourself a few packages, fire up the grill, even though there's some snow out there, or maybe you got one of those like brat grills, and was it like the Johnsonville ones where you got the plates that you can switch it. I don't know. Whatever the case may be, it's always brat season, anyways. Fire them up and then cook them, taste them, and let us know which one's your favorite by voting at sportstalk1051.com. Somebody, actually, a couple people reached out the last couple days about the Packers tailgate tour, asking if I was going to be there when they stop in Eau Claire. Yeah, actually, it sounds like I'm going to be one of the co-MCs over there. So at the Lismore, so that should be a lot of fun. April 11th, that Tuesday. Aaron Jones, Romeo Dobbs, Elton Jenkins, Eddie Lacy, Devon House, Clinton Dix, and of course Mark Murphy over there too. So yeah, that should be a lot of fun. But going to benefit Bolton House. Should be a good time. Looking forward to that. So hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, sounds like I will be there. So all right, we only got a couple minutes to the top of the hour here. So next hour I want to talk some Brewers. Willie Adames also talked about his future. Will it be with the Brewers? What did he kind of maybe hint at where he thinks his future is going to be? We'll hear from Willie Adames. We talked about a little bit earlier, MLB.com. They've got their top 5, kind of bounce back hitters that they're expecting this year, and one of them is a Brewer. We'll tell you who they picked over there. We got the first spring training game coming up this weekend. So I'm getting ready for that. Baseball is going to be, we're approaching about a month away from opening day, March 30th, right? So we're getting close. We're getting close. We're working on something for opening day too, when it's Brewers versus Cubbies on March 30th during the day. Might have a little viewing party or something like that. More deets to come, more details to come on that. So, but just kind of put it in the back of your mind, March 30th. If I got nothing going on, or maybe you took the day off for opening day, we might have something a little something planned for that day. Okay, so we'll get to that. Then we'll talk some hoops, Badger hoops, with that W last night against Iowa, and an update, a little bit of an update, I guess, if you want to call it, on Giannis, and then Chris Middleton. Bucks will be back in action tomorrow. Tomorrow in Milwaukee. Yep, and then they got that game against the Suns on Sunday. Should be a fun one. And then Brooklyn, and then they're done with February. Then just one more full month. A little bit left in April, but in terms of one full month, March is your final one there. Then we're already going to be in the postseason. So believe that or not. All right, that shot clock is going to cut me off here in just a couple of seconds. So we'll kick off the next hour with some sports nuggets of the day. Don't forget, it is a Thirsty Thursday. You want to do some shout outs, and if they're good ones, we'll send them. We'll give those shout outs for you. Plus, we got a little Throwback Thursday we're going to start doing, 8 o'clock hour. I want your receiver deferred questions. Text those babies on over to me, all right? We'll get to receiver defer coming up around 7:45. One in already. We got 2 more to go. We'll be back after these news updates. I know it's hard to think about spring here with the weather we've been having in the last couple days and such, but it will get here. But also, maybe this weather is kind of a good reminder for you if you need those new tires for your vehicle. Maybe you need to get that new battery for your vehicle so you don't have to worry about whether it's going to start with these cold mornings or such. Or maybe you just need an oil change, or maybe you're getting ready to do a restoration project, or you're looking to save some money with an auto part. ASAP used auto parts has you covered in all those areas I just talked about. Whether it's that quick oil change, or you want to get some, or you need some new tires, or you need a new battery for your vehicle, ASAP used auto parts, your place to go over there. And like I said, maybe if you're working on a restoration project, like maybe that's your summer project, spring project, and or maybe it's something that you can do if you have that, obviously that garage space to do so right now with the kind of weather we're having right now. But if you're looking for that new or hard to find high quality used auto part, ASAP used auto parts can help you find that and help you save some money with that too. So you can visit their website, asapusedautopartsec.com. You can check out their location, 1330 Menominee Street, just across the street from the Dodge over there. And don't forget, they also offer a military discount. That's ASAP Used Auto Parts here in Eau Claire. Hey, I'm looking for a couple more. So if you got them out there, receiver deferred questions, hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line, 715-830-1912. All right, Brewers getting ready for the first spring training game this weekend. MLB.com continuing kind of a little series that they got going on with some content and such leading up to the season. Their latest one out there, 5 hitters poised to bounce back in 2023. No, there is a Brewer on there, but no, it's not listed. Christian Yelich. They're going with newcomer Jesse Winker. Their little write-up, Winker was one of the best hitters in the majors on a rate basis from 2020 to 2021, ranking in the same range as Paul Goldschmidt and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Otani. And his results matched his expected metrics. But following an offseason trade from Cincinnati to Seattle, his production plummeted in 2022. As it turns out, there may be a glaringly obvious reason for this. Never talking about his durability. Winker managed to play in 136 games for the Mariners, but did so while hindered by a meniscus injury in his left knee, and more troubling, a neck injury. Both those issues led to off-season surgery. Then he had a disc replacement procedure that he said paid immediate dividends, potentially alleviating symptoms that have plagued him for years. Also, you're talking about the fields that he played at. So he's going back to Milwaukee, where American Family Field ranks as the 5th best home run park for lefties. Little note there, a little fun nugget there. So in other words, the stage is set for a rejuvenated Winker to return to his status as an all-star caliber bat in 2023. Brewers are hoping for that. Fans really hoping for that. What about one of their top offensive players, Willie Adames? Obviously, he's kind of also been the talk about, is he going to be up for contract? Well, we know he's going to be up for a contract extension, but is that going to be with the Brewers? Well, he was asked by Todd Rosiak yesterday, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Let's hear what he had to say. All right, so that's Brewers shortstop Willie Adames saying he would love to stay in Milwaukee. He wants to continue to play in Milwaukee, but he also acknowledges that there's some insane contracts given out to shortstops this offseason. A lot of money given out to some shortstops this offseason. So, it's probably going to make things a little bit more difficult for the Brewers to hold on to Willie Adames for the long term, right? And again, I think this kind of goes back to the conversation or the thought from a lot of Brewers fans out there is that why aren't the Brewers, if they know that they're not going to sign Corbin Burns to a long term deal, they know they're not going to sign Brandon Woodruff to a long term deal, they know they're not going to sign Willie Adames to a long term deal, then why aren't they maybe, from the Brewers fans' point of view, maybe kind of trying to push their chips in just a little bit more and try to go for this thing and take advantage of that quote unquote cheaper deals that they've got for some of their players. Because I think the thing that's really kind of holding the Brewers back from potentially signing Willie Adames to a long term deal, and he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. Says in 2025 here, but I think that's not accurate from Spot Track because it goes from 2023 to 2025 on there. I'll have to double check that. But I think the one thing that's obviously holding back the Brewers from maybe extending a contract extension to a guy like Willie Adames is, let's face it, Christian Yelich. It's Christian Yelich and that contract. Now, if Christian Yelich was playing at a high level like he was a few years ago, probably not brought up as much, right? If Christian Yelich is batting close to 300, he's got 30 some dingers and 100 RBIs or close to 100 RBIs. Probably not talking a whole lot about it. But I mean, right now, I mean, you're looking at 20, yeah, about $26 million per year for Christian Yelich up until 2029 when it's a mutual option. But I don't know. That's where I guess to me again, I just like I look at this and I'm like, okay, you've got Willie Damas for what another year. You got Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff for maybe another year. Once you and if you already have it in your mind, like based off these other contracts that are out, that how the market has already kind of been set, wouldn't you try to make sure that you add pieces to surround these players that and create some depth there and maybe try and I would think, and whether they're right or wrong, and we'll know once the season gets going and games start to get played and such. Maybe we'll all be surprised with this thing with the offense and such. But that to me, at least, is the frustrating part from the Brewers is that it's almost like you've got an NFL team that's got a rookie quarterback playing incredibly well, or a quarterback that's playing under that rookie contract really well, like Jalen Hurts this year for Philly, or like Patrick Mahomes when he was under his rookie deal, or you can use the Russell Wilson example when he first started off in Seattle. It's like okay, we've got this really talented quarterback who we are pretty much getting by paying nothing, and you just kind of stand pat. You don't try to be aggressive in the offseason. You don't try to maybe get him a couple receivers or get him a receiver and a tight end, or maybe you're not doing a lot to really fortify your defense. You're just like, yeah, okay, we're getting some good quarterback play. We're getting by pretty cheap with it, but we're still gonna, just really, really focus on the draft and building up our team that way. Yeah. Why wouldn't you take advantage of that? Why wouldn't you take advantage of like, oh, man, all right, we know we're gonna have to pay this quarterback, probably about 45, 50 million per year, whatever the heck it's gonna be. Let's try to get a Lombardi now. That's not to say you can't get a Lombardi. I think that narrative gets overplayed quite a bit. And I know Andrew Brandt just did an article about it. Side note: the last three Super Bowl winning quarterbacks were not under rookie contracts. But I do think that gets a little bit overplayed at times. But I also think it's a disservice if you are a team that has that rookie quarterback and is playing at a high level, and you try and you don't do anything about it, like you don't try to be aggressive. This is, but I'll even say, like the Bears, at least they tried to be aggressive. At least they, when they drafted Mitchell Trubisky, which right now it's like wow, because obviously we know who was drafted after him and such. But at least they were like, okay, we got a quarterback and a rookie deal now. What'd they do? They went and got Khalil Mack. They went and spent. This didn't work out. They tried. They went to the postseason and they were a double doink away from moving on. But at least they went out there and like, okay, we're gonna bring in a guy like Khalil Mack. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. That's going back to the Brewers thing too. It's like, geez, you know, I mean, the Contreras move. I like that move. I think that was a steal. All right. Hopefully Jesse Winker bounces back, is healthy enough, and if he is that hitter that he was for the Reds just a couple of years ago, that is a huge win. But there's probably some uncertainty surrounding some other spots, some depth positions. Like, still, who is your third base? I know there's some fans out there when they look at that and they're kind of uh excuse me, I'm choking up here. That they're excited about Brian Anderson and maybe he can be an unsung player, and I hope he is. But again, you're kind of hoping, you're crossing your fingers that last year his 228 that he can improve on, that he can get back to what he was maybe the years prior, where when he first started in 2017, he was 262, 273, 261. But ever since that 273 year in 2018, he's gone down an average every year since then. 261, 255, 249, 222. Granted, he hasn't played a ton of games in 2020 and 2021, but maybe he can be that bounce back. But yeah, it's this you're kind of crossing your fingers and hoping that that's going to be the case. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the weirdo in that. All right, we got like our final break here for the second hour. Receive or defer. Receive or defer. Last call if you have any. I'll take a couple more. Otherwise, we should have enough. But if you got any good ones, hey, hit me up with a text. Okay, send those babies on over. We'll take that break and then finish up the second hour. Thirsty Thursday as well. You got any shout outs you want to give? We got a few. I got to get to those yet, but we'll hit that up coming up after the break too. Any plans on what you're going to be doing with your tax return this year? Maybe paying off some bills or expenses. I get it. That's pretty reasonable. But what else is reasonable is making sure that you also treat yourself once in a while. So here's a helpful suggestion for you. All right. How about heading to Tilden Gun and finally upgrading that deer rifle or turkey shotgun of yours? Because let's be honest, you've been thinking about getting that new 270 or 12 gauge for a while now, right? Because really, when was the last time you updated that hunting firearm of yours? Probably it's been too long. You can't even remember right now. So save a little bit of money from those tax returns this year and head on over to the locally owned and family operated Tilden Gun. They'll help you find that hunting firearm that you're looking for. And the best part is that you won't have to use all of your tax return money because Tilden Gun has the best prices and deals in the area. Whether you're looking for a new firearm or you want to check out some used firearms, Tilden Gun has a wide selection for you to choose from. And no pushy salespeople to get you to get something that you don't want. Experience it for yourself. Just visit tildengun.com and visit their shop at 12427 90th Avenue, Chippewa Falls. Tax season just got a whole lot better because you're going to be treating yourself with a new hunting firearm from Tilden Gun. All right, before we get to a little receive or defer, my Thirsty Thursday shout out's pretty darn simple. It's for all the city workers, county workers out there plowing the roads, making sure that they're all clean out there for anybody who does have to drive and anybody else who does have to go out there for work, whether it's, the emergency, people like ambulance, state patrol, police, firefighters out there, everybody that's got to head out to the roads, and just maybe the person that has to still go to work because of they have to. They just have to. Even with the roads out there, but they still got to head to work. Shout out to all of you. Thirsty Thursday, shout out to all of you. Just be safe out there, okay? Be safe out there, especially with the winds, open fields and drifts and all that. Yeah, it's Wisconsin. We've all experienced that. So, all right, let's finish up this second hour with a little receiver defer. All right, big thanks to everybody who sent in some receive or defers here this morning. Let's just get into it here. Receive or defer, the Bucks will get to 60 wins by the end of the regular season. I think somebody said this, maybe was it last week or a couple weeks ago, but I'm going to defer it because the Bucks are at 41 wins right now. To get to 60, they would have to win what nine? Is it nine? Me and math. 19 of their last 24 here. No, I'm going to defer that. I still think it's going to be around 56, 7 wins over there. Now, is that going to be enough to secure the one spot in the Eastern Conference? They're a half game back from Boston Celtics. Boston sitting at 42-17, Milwaukee 41-17. Just kind of looking at the upcoming schedule. I know this doesn't really mean a whole lot here. We know what Milwaukee's is, but look, I'm trying to look at Boston's here. They're going to start off on the road right away at Indiana, at Philly, at New York. Ooh. My gut, I'm going to say the Bucks finish with the 2 seed. I think they're going to finish with the 2 seed. I think it's going to be a close race to the finish. And when you look at that March 30th game, I think that's going to be a huge game, but they still got a few games after that to let it all play out. So, no, I think the Bucks will finish in that 2 spot in the Eastern Conference. Honestly, I feel like I feel like the top 4 is going to be the same in the East. Right now, it's Boston, it's Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and then Cleveland. I feel like those are going to be the top 4 teams. For all the talk, we've been talking a lot about like the Eastern Conference this year and just like how kind of top heavy it is. But with Brooklyn, trading off KD and Kyrie now, it kind of, I don't know. I feel like that 5 and 6 spot now in the Eastern Conference is going to be a little bit more open. Brooklyn right now is that 5 seed. Then you got New York as the 6 seed. And then for the play-in tournaments there, you got Miami, Atlanta, Washington, Toronto. Chicago's 2 games out from that last one. 2.5. Indiana's out there. It's going to be interesting to see like how far Brooklyn's going to fall. Do they stay in that top 6? Do they stay in, I think they'll stay in the top 10, but I don't know. We'll see how this thing plays out, but maybe now there's a little bit more of an opportunity here for Miami to squeak into that top 6. The Knicks maybe moving up to number 5. Atlanta, who just fired Nate McMillan as their head coach, but they're currently the 8th seed right now. So then you got the Western Conference over there where it's it's still Denver. Denver's just kind of running away now, it feels like, with the Western Conference. Memphis is the 2 seed. They're 5 games back. Sacramento's the 3. Clippers now have Russell Westbrook. How is that going to work up? He's back with PG-13 Paul George. Phoenix now with KD is the 5 seed. And then Dallas is the 6. Then you got the Pelicans, Minnesota, Golden State, and then Oklahoma City in the play-in. But you got Utah and Portland, who are just a half game back from that final spot. And then the Lakers 2 back. It's going to be kind of a race to the finish, I think, in this final, what would you say, month and a half left of the NBA season. So, receive or defer. What the heck? What did I just kick down right at the bottom? I got so many, gosh darn it, cords. I don't know what's going on over here. All right. Receiver or defer. Aaron Rodgers is going to make his decision by the end of the week. Well, I don't know if this texter knows that we got the pool going on here, but my date that I picked was the 28th. I feel like he's going to do it, like that's a Tuesday, and I think, I kind of got caught in the hole, like he's going to announce it on McAfee Show, but I feel like we're going to know before he goes on his buddy Pat McAfee's show. I feel like we will know that beforehand. So, what, end of the week was the question? I mean, yep, end of the week. So that would, no, I mean, he's out of darkness now, which is actually a story here. So, no, I don't think we'll know by the end of the week. I don't think we'll know by tomorrow or Saturday. Nah, I'll defer that. But I think it will be next week. I think we are going to know by next week. Receive or defer. The Brewers will agree to a long-term deal with Willy Adames. I'm going to defer that. I just think, especially with how the shortstop market went this offseason, and just kind of seeing how the Brewers have been operating, I don't think they're going to. And then, you look at their farm system. You got a Bryce Terang that's there at shortstop. They probably view him as their next guy manning that position. So I feel like it's going to be a no. I feel like a lot is going to depend on how this Brewers team looks before the trade deadline. Because I can see if the Brewers are clearly out of it, or it just doesn't look like it's trending that they're not going to be in the postseason, I could easily see the Brewers being big-time sellers, trading off Willy Adames, maybe even trading off both Corbin and Brandon Woodruff, and getting back some assets and just kind of like going all young and regrouping and retooling, or I don't know if it necessarily be rebuilding, but I think if we get to that trade deadline and it's trending where the Brewers are not going to be in the postseason, it might be kind of a crazy, few days leading up to that deadline, because the Brewers have players that a lot of teams would love to have, especially with Woody and Corbin. They're not trading Peralta. They got him locked up under a cheap deal. Aaron Ashby, we're not going to see him until May, but they locked him up. The other person in this whole thing too would be like a Devin Williams. We don't really talk about him a whole lot long-term wise. I mean, you look at it, he's an unrestricted, I mean, they got more control over him. Unrestricted free agent until probably not going to be, like a trade candidate or anything like that out there. But the Willy Adames, the Corbin Burns, and the Brandon Woodruff one, yeah, man, it's going to be interesting to see how this Brewers team goes this year. And I mean, if they're in the playoff hunt, will they actually be active at the deadline and bring in some players? Are they going to stand pat? If they're not, I can see them selling off a lot, whole lot. Last one here because I'm going to miss a couple of them. But receiver defer. Do you ultimately think Alan Lazard will be back with the Packers? I'm going to defer that. I just think it's going to. I think it's going to take one team that is going to pay a little bit more, and I think Alan Lazard. If I'm his agent, I'm telling him, hey, dude, this might be your only shot at getting a big time deal. If you want to make sure you get paid and you want to get worth your dollar, it might be somewhere else. And I keep going back to Chicago, a team that's got nearly $100 million left in cap space. They want receivers. Their offensive coordinator was with Green Bay for a few years, and Luke Getsy. He knows Alan Lazard. He knows what he's about. He knows what he does well. I feel like Chicago is a team that's got money to spend, that they're one of those teams. It was like Jacksonville last year that they were shelling out contracts to like Zay Jones and Christian Kirk, and people were like, why are you paying so much for those guys? I feel like that could be a Chicago thing. And remember, NFL teams, they do have to spend a certain amount of their salary cap every few years. They got to reach a certain percentage point. So like 95%, I think, 95%. It's a weird kind of thing there. I keep going back to Chicago as a team that I could see going to Alan Lazard and saying, hey, we'll give you a few $1 million more. Move a little south. That's just me, though. All right. 2 hours in. We got one more to go. Let's kick it off with something new. We're going to do a little Throwback Thursday. Coming up after these quick news updates. All right, third and final hour. How y'all doing this morning, huh? Doing good? Ready for the weekend? I'm ready for the weekend. Appreciate you tuning in and checking us out wherever and whatever you may be doing here this morning. Maybe you're hitting the roads a little carefully, two hands on the wheel, eyes on the road, lights on, driving a little slower. Maybe you're at home. Maybe you're with the kids because they got virtual learning today. Whatever it is, appreciate you checking us out here this morning. We'll get back to a little football talk coming up here in case you missed the conversation in the first hour. Now that apparently Aaron has emerged from darkness, according to the mothership. You know, I'm sure Aaron's going to really be happy about that owner of that retreat spilling the guts and saying he left Wednesday. I'm really sure that he's going to, like, how did they, first of all, was it I want to know this. Did the owner go out there and say that? Or did like ESPN actually know the retreat Aaron was going at? You know what I mean? Like, how did they know? It's 2023 though, so who knows? Everybody's got a phone and a camera in their phone and that sort of thing. So, but I want to get back to a couple clips in case you missed the clips that we played in the first hour from ESPN's Jeff Darlington and Tom Pelissero from the NFL Network. Also, Alan Lazard. There's a report out there that the Packers interested in bringing him back. Alan Lazard kind of confirmed in a radio interview with SiriusXM the other day that his agents and the Packers have been kind of starting to talk and that sort of thing. But Alan Lazard also said he's been spoiled these last few years. So we'll play that clip as well. Oh my goodness, is this true? Like, oh boy. Holy moly. So Rob Demovsky, our good friend Rob Demovsky, he he retweeted the article from ESPN with with apparently the retreat that Aaron stayed at. This is not what I thought it was going to look like. Not that I really care, but this looks like something straight out of The Hobbit. This ain't no house. This looks like something straight out of The Hobbit. Man, okay. That's not what I expected. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at this like, what the heck is this? So, anyways, let's do a little throwback Thursday. So something I'm gonna kind of do a little bit new and different on Thursdays. I know everybody knows what Throwback Thursday is, but we're gonna throw it back to like a game, or if there wasn't a game, maybe a big thing that happened on this day. I know we kind of do that with sports nuggets of the day, but we're gonna focus strictly on like Wisconsin sports when we do our little Throwback Thursday. So we're throwing it back to 1969. 1969 today. What we're going to go to the Bucks because really there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, it's 1969, you know, not a whole lot going on in terms of games and that sort of thing. But it was the Suns taking on the Milwaukee Bucks, and this was obviously right before the Bucks drafted Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, since he began his career with the first season 1969 to 1970. But this game featured a couple of barn burner teams. The Suns 14-53, the Bucks 21-45. Bucks ended up winning this game. Leading scorer for the Suns in this game was Gail Goodrich. If you remember, well, maybe some of you, I wasn't born around that, but Gail Goodrich spent a couple years with Phoenix, started off his career with the Lakers, went back to the Lakers, but he finished his career with averaging 18.6 points per game. He is a Hall of Famer, five-time All-Star, won the championship in 1972 with the Lakers there too. So he was leading scorer for the Suns. The leading scorer for the Bucks was Len Chappell, putting up 24 points in that game. Was a one-time All-Star. But kind of just look at the other leading scorer for the Bucks was John McLaughlin, 23 points in that game. You probably know a little bit more about John, right? 1971 champion, Johnny Mack, the Moose, the original Buck. some of the nicknames, finished his career with 11.6 points per game. So that's kind of your throwback Thursday game. Again, this was before Kareem came over here. Other players that played in this game that maybe know Flynn Robinson for the Bucks there, Guy Rogers, Dick Cunningham, Suns Wise, Bob Warlick, Jim Fox. Couple way thrown away back to 1969 for our throwback Thursday. So, all right. Um, man, I can't get over that's what Aaron stayed in. If he stayed in 4 nights in that thing, I need an inside look. I can't. I mean, this is for anybody who doesn't have Twitter or is not looking it up right now. Maybe you're driving. You're like, well, I don't know what it looks like. I got to this. Seriously, it looks like a door built into a hillside, straight out of the Hobbit. This is where Rogers went in Oregon. Oh wow. Okay, you can look it up for yourself. Let's go back to a couple clips that we played in the first hour. Okay, as I have to imagine, as we all probably think right now, we are getting close to decision time. But are we kind of, has it been a little bit overblown? The talk about Aaron Rodgers being a little being traded or such. Has it been overblown? This was from Jeff Darlington the other day from ESPN. Jeff's a pretty smart dude. And he had an interesting comments. I'll play this here quickly. All right, so that's the part about Aaron. The second part was about the report that. And Jeff mentioned the contract that he signed, and that was something that as the season was over with, and then all of a sudden there was the talk about him being traded, and I'm just like, how did we go from less than a year that he's finishing his career, he signs that contract, he's finishing his career in Green Bay, to where now we're back to what it was the last couple of years about him being traded. And I'm like, how? Why are we there? Like, I never got that answer, that full answer. And the only thing I could think of was like, all right, maybe down year, record wise, didn't go to the postseason, didn't hit the expectations and the goals. Maybe there was a thought, because Aaron kept saying, well, it's got to be a two-way street, got to be a two-way street. Maybe there was just that mindset like, hey, we didn't make the postseason, didn't hit the goals, didn't hit the expectations. Maybe they want to rebuild it now. And that's why he was kind of throwing out the whole, it's got to be a two-way street, two-sided street there. Because I feel like if Aaron comes back, he wants to play for Green Bay. That's just my personal opinion. I don't have any thoughts on that thing. Inside info, I should say. I feel like if he wants to play with Green Bay. And we got, Jeff Darlington saying, whoever that high-ranking Packer source that he has, saying, yeah, they feel like he's going to be back in Green Bay. Tom Pelissero, NFL Network, who covered the Packers for a few years when he was in Green Bay, was on the Rich Eisen show the other day, and he kind of said the same things here. So let me. That's still Jeff, but this is from Tom Pelissero, Rich Eisen show. All right, so that's just a little bit there from Tom Pelissero, an audio from the Rich Eisen show. So I last week I kind of changed my Rogers meter, if you will, like what my gut was telling me for the first time in a long time. When it was about a month ago, a few weeks ago, I thought Aaron was going to be somewhere else. Last week I kind of went back to where I think he's going to be in Green Bay, back to Green Bay, and I still feel like that today. I still feel like we're going to see 12 suited up. But I also feel like this is going to be the final year. Now, I don't think he will. I'm kind of doing a bold prediction here. I don't think he'll go out there and say this is my final year to publicly. If we believe what he said, that he doesn't want the whole, goodbye tour that he said a couple years ago. But I do feel like Aaron will be back this year, and I do feel like this will be the final chapter of that career. If I had to make a wager now, if I had to bet G-Man's 401k, that's what I would put it on right now. But that's just me. That's just what my gut right now is telling me. And honestly, it might change next week. Who the heck knows? But will Alan Lazard be there? If Aaron comes back, will Alan Lazard be there? We were talking about this in the first hour. We know what like the Spot Tracks market value is for Alan Lazard, and they've got it at $12.5 million per year. Is it worth it that much? Is it not? We discussed that. Well, here's what Alan Lazard had to say about his impending free agency. Audio courtesy from Sirius XM NFL Radio. All right, so there you go. That's the audio again, courtesy from Sirius XM NFL Radio. Alan Lazard. I know one of them was Rich Gannon. He was talking to there too. So, but he kind of talked about having high expectations. He said, "I've been very spoiled by the Packers organization, so he's going to have high expectations, to whatever team he's going to visit or going to go to. Because of how he has been treated by Green Bay these last few years. But I also think a lot of it, let's be real here. It's going to come down to money. It's going to come down straight up to money. Whoever's going to offer him the best deal. Now, there maybe it could be a little bit of a, if there's like, let's say, $1 million difference or $500,000 difference between two ball clubs in a contract, and maybe he goes to one that's a little bit lower because it's how he viewed it, how he kind of talked about it with the organization, city, and all that sort of stuff. Interesting, he did mention weather on there too, but I mean, he played at Iowa State. Obviously, playing with Green Bay here too. I threw out Chicago, I think, as a potential target. So sticking around in the Midwest there. But how much of this is also going to be dependent on whether Aaron Rodgers is back or not? I think maybe a little bit, but I ultimately don't think it'll be the Green Bay's got to figure out where they're going to get all their dang money. Where are they going to get all this money? Because I feel like Allen Lazard's going to get a decent contract. He's not going to be the highest paid wide receiver out there. It's just going to take one team or a couple teams to up the price. That's why I keep going back to Chicago. It's going to take one. And I don't feel like Allen Lazard is going to, take a lower contract. Kind of like, Aaron Jones taking a pay cut to stay in Green Bay. I don't feel like Allen Lazard is going to do that because I feel like he knows, or at least his management team knows, this might be your one shot at getting a bigger deal. That's just my opinion. That's my thought. Right now, even with the Aaron Jones restructure or new contract, I should say, if you look at it, according to Over the Cap, Green Bay is still about $9.7 million over the cap. Now, they can create some more money, obviously, if they, restructures and all that, and signing Rashawn Gary to a long-term deal to lower his $10.9 million cap hit this year. That comes with that fifth-year option. Could they, I guess, give Darnell Savage a new contract to avoid the $7.9 million cap hit because of the fifth-year option? I guess so. I mean, they could go about that route. I think the obvious big one, though, is going to be Aaron Charles Rodgers. Then all trickles down from there. But I feel like 12 is going to be back in the green and gold. I think he's going to want Allen Lazard back. But he's going to have to, I think 12 is really going to have to put on the recruiting pitch, to get Allen Lazard to come back, because I don't think Green Bay is going to be able to outbid some teams for his services. I don't think Allen Lazard is a number one wide receiver. I think he can be a 2 and a 3 and a solid one. I think he's also a player that can exceed in certain types of offense, like what Green Bay asks Allen Lazard to do. Doing a lot of blocking, right? A lot of receivers don't want to do that. Or a lot of receivers can't do that, or they don't, or those teams who are paying boatloads of cash to a receiver, they don't want him blocking. They don't want him getting hurt from blocking. Right? But Allen Lazard can do it. So I feel like, too, to really kind of showcase his skill set or play up to his abilities, he's also a player that's got to find that right fit schematically. Obviously, that's Green Bay, but I also feel like, again, that's a Chicago connection because of Luke Getsy being the offensive coordinator over there. March 15th, free agency, in case anybody's wondering. So less than a month. All right. I'll tell you what, we are going to have Jake Bolks on. So if you do have a last-second question for our Wisconsin DNR warden, Jake Bolks, you have to text it to me right now, 715-830-1912. Got to text it to me right now if you want me to ask him that. So hit me up with that text. We're going to take a quick break. We'll do our outdoor tidbits with Jake here. Why didn't that go? What's going on here? There we go. Button's not working again here in the studio. All right, quick break, and we'll do our outdoor tidbits after these few words. Time to catch up with our good buddy, Mr. Jake Bolks, Wisconsin Conservation Warden, here this morning. Jake, how are the roads right now? Are you out on them right now?
I am out in the fall, and some places are great, but there are a lot of snow drifts, especially in the back roads or along a bunch of agricultural fields. So there is some dicey spots. There's no doubt about it.
All right, so be careful. You be careful out there too, Jake. So
Yeah, appreciate it. Luckily the truck's got the old 4-wheel drive. It can
right.
pound through a couple of these.
Awesome, man. Hey, we had a couple people actually ask about. So they, one of them said they got an email about it, but asking about bear dens. There was, I guess, an email sent out from the DNR saying, "Hey, if you see a bear den, let us know." And somebody was asking why would you want to know that? I guess.
Yeah, so I had to do a little research just on myself, to be honest, because as law enforcement, we don't always get updated on what the biological studies and things that are going on between each department. But looking it up, it looks like they're doing a black bear litter survey and a diet survey. So they're basically trying to estimate the black bear reproductive rates in each of the new zones.
Okay.
It's just looking at it. It's another way to manage the I don't want to say herd, but the population health, and it also looks like they're trying to see if there's a connection between all the bears getting into like human food, garbages, and different things like that, and if that affects their reproduction. Looking at some of the articles that are out online.
Gotcha. Interesting. So, we do have another question coming up in here. Can you duck hunt the islands north of 312 in Eau Claire? There is no city ordinance talking about hunting in the city limits on water. Can you explain what you can or can't do?
So hunting within the city limits of Eau Claire, you can bow hunt for deer. You can't rifle hunt. There is an ordinance against discharging firearms. Now, when it comes to duck hunting, it's something you just want to be very careful when you're doing it. So I've talked with the city's attorney's office, and they allow duck hunters to hunt the islands in the middle of Dell's Pond. If you're on the islands in the middle of Dell's Pond, you can duck hunt there as long as you're being safe, taking ethical shots, not trying to shoot the other shoreline and stuff like that. As far as anywhere else in the city, they don't allow duck hunting because they feel that it's too dangerous. They are the ones, the city's attorney's office and the police department are ultimately the ones that make the decision on if they allow hunting with firearms in the city, because they can say no to that because of a safety concern. But bow hunting, anyone can bow hunt basically any species in the city per state law. That's allowed, but the rifles or the shotguns changes it a little bit.
Gotcha. That's a good point. That's a good little nugget there. So.
And I guess, yeah, so when they say the 312 bridge, the island north, north of that bridge, there's really only like a little island. So I don't know exactly what they're talking about. Maybe they meant south. But basically anything outside of the city limits, it's going to be in different townships. Those you can duck hunt. You can get on the Chippewa River and go upstream towards Chippewa Falls or go downstream towards Caryville and hunt. But you just have to make sure you're following, if you're on private property, and make sure you're within or away from 100 yards away from a house or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay. So also too, I know probably people aren't thinking about this now with the recent weather, but correct me or refresh me. Is it getting close to taking the shanties off the ice here soon?
Yeah, it really is actually. I don't have the calendar up on me, but it's the first Sunday after the 1st, so it's going to be like March 5th or somewhere around there.
Yeah, March 5th. You're right. Yep.
So it's actually coming up fairly quick. And now with all the snow on top of the ice, and the ice conditions where, ice is always 100%, you never know what's going to happen. But they weren't the best ice conditions, but they were, good enough to be driving around and different things like that. The snow and the drifting and the this and the that's definitely going to play a factor into either getting the shacks off or the ice conditions, or, it might go on top of weak spots. So it's going to be really, really imperative that people are safe on the ice and the rivers and stuff like that moving into spring here. We are going to have some cold snaps, it looks like, so that's good. It should firm up everything for a bit.
Yeah, because that's going to be a week from this Sunday already. I feel like when it gets to March, that's kind of when I start thinking spring.
It is. It's crazy. Like, that warm snap we had a couple weeks ago, or maybe even a week ago. My chickens started laying all their eggs, and everything was melting, and it looked like grass is growing. And now we got this again, and it just transports you right back into the middle of winter.
You got some chickens over there, man? You got chickens on there?
do.
Wow, look at you.
I do. I got a few.
Man, you have to
Just a little hobby.
bring some eggs in next time you're in or something like
Well,
that, dude.
Yeah, they might cost you a pretty
Yeah, right now with the prices, I don't blame you.
I know at this point I wish I had twice as many.
No kidding, man. So, I guess to kind of wrap it up here quickly here, is there any other dates that maybe we should kind of keep an eye on? I know Turkey's not until April, and you got the spring youth hunt.
The next main one will be the ice shack takeoff date. So make sure people are aware of that. I usually give like a day leniency and work with the people to get it off. But after a couple of days, if I have to pull it off, there's probably going to be a citation issued if I have to do the work to get it off. The other thing, I guess, on that note, I've talked with some other wardens. Everyone has to make sure that they have their shacks identified with whether it's your name and address or phone number or your customer ID or something. Because this is a time of year where if it's not and that shack date comes and goes, and now there's a shack out there without any numbers or names on it, I can't get a hold of anyone. It creates a pretty big issue. The last few years I've had to pull off a couple in different things with no names, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. So make sure you get all your names on that, especially this time of year, because the wardens will be holding you accountable on that.
So, like, when you have to pull it off, do you take it back to your office, or do you just do it to the side on the banks?
It all depends. A couple of times it was so frozen in the ice because it was thawing that we had to cut it apart on the ice, and we literally destroyed it, cut it apart, and threw it in the dumpster because it wasn't the best shack in the world. I think that's why it was left there. But then other ones I've taken off and been able to either use other resources to track down the owner or do some other things where I've been able to track the owners down and give them their shacks back, but with a citation.
Gotcha. All right. Interesting. So
yeah, make sure to label it, make sure to get it off on time. I don't want to sound like the hard butt or anything like that, but it's just something that it can be a pretty dangerous thing if the ice conditions go, and now we got a big ice shack on there for litter or for boats or for whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I mean, some people invest a lot of money in those shacks too. Do you really want them to, do you think they don't want it going through the ice, right, people?
No, for sure, definitely.
Some of those
no, the only other thing would be mid-March should be the bonus tags will go on sale for the turkey. So be aware of what date for what zone, and we'll talk about that more when it gets closer.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's just back to snowmobile. And so I've already got notifications that Dunn County and Eau Claire County are back open. Their trails are open. There's a lot of ice under the snow, so just be careful, especially before they're groomed, because you could hit some real slick spots depending on how the snow drifts. But they are open, ready to go.
All right. Well, good note. I didn't even know that. So good stuff, Jake.
Yep.
Hey, be safe out there, okay, bud?
Yeah. Thanks for calling. It's always a good time, and we'll talk to you next week.
You got it. There you go. There's Jake Boakes, our Wisconsin Conservation Warden buddy, bringing the knowledge. Thank you for a couple questions there from all of you. Again, reminder, if you ever have a question, whenever it kind of pops up in your memory bank, send it on over to us. Ideally, a little bit earlier if you could think about it, but send it on over whenever you want, if you will. So, all right, we got to take one more break coming up here in just a couple minutes, but we'll kind of recap everything. I know we just recapped little green and gold chat there with the whole Aaron Rodgers darkness thing. If you haven't seen this picture, you got to look at what he actually stayed in. Maybe it shouldn't be too surprised, but there's like no way I could do it for 4 nights there if he actually did it for 4 nights and such. But so we got that. We got Badger Hoops picking up the W last night. Just 3 more games left in the regular season for them. They've got Michigan coming up this week. They'll be going to Michigan. 1 more home game at the Kohl Center. That's against Purdue. And then we've got ending up on the Gophers. I missed Surveyor's receiver defer, but he said, will this be the most unpredictable March Madness we have ever seen? and we will not have one blue blood in the Final Four. I think it will be, but I also feel like Kansas. I don't know. Kansas is the team that whenever I pick them to do something, then they fall flat early. So I never know what to do with Kansas. Syracuse was like that for me when they were on their runs too. Like Iowa was kind of the same, but Kansas, I don't know. There's something about the experience and being there and such. I feel like don't discredit them. So I'll two-part it. I'll receive it that I think this will be unpredictable. I think it's going to be a crazy March Madness, but I'll defer that there won't be any blue bloods. I think Kansas has a shot to be in there. They're still up there. So, and when we get to blue bloods, do we expand that definition to more programs that have kind of consistently been around? When we think of blue bloods, it's what? It's the Dukes, it's the North Carolina, it's the Kentucky, it's the Kansas. When do we start to expand that, to add more teams into that? All right. And then Bucks wise, now we'll give you those updates on Giannis, his injury situation. And are we going to see Jay Crowder tomorrow night? We'll tell you. But first, we'll take our final break here. Then we'll cover some bases, hit on some other stuff that we may have missed or want to revisit, and maybe another return of a Milwaukee Buck player tomorrow night. Injury updates after these words. Wrapping things up here on this wintry Thursday. What do we got? 10, 11 minutes to the top of the hour here. Let's cover some bases. Talk some Badgers. Badgers picking up a win against Iowa last night. 3 more games left in the regular season for that Badger Hoops team. 1 left at home against Purdue. That should be a interesting one there. Michigan this weekend, then Purdue, then against the Gophers. So then we got the Big Ten Conference tournament after that. We know Marquette, they got the victory the other night. So they still in the driver's seat to win that Big East. See if they can hold on to it. Looks like they will. What else? We chatted a little Bucks as Bucks did a little shoot around, a little practice yesterday. Mike Budenholzer, still very coy, which, I mean, if you've listened to Mike Budenholzer, you've read his press conferences or injury status updates, he's very coy and very, non-committal, I guess is what you could say. But again, just pretty much saying, Giannis did a little bit of practice, limited at practice, very day-to-day. He said Middleton was able to do everything they asked. He looked good. He did say that Jay Crowder and Bobby Portis are expected to play for the Bucks tomorrow night. So we'll see the first appearance with Jay Crowder in a Bucks uniform and his first appearance at all this year. Then Bobby Portis back. That to me kind of almost tells me I wouldn't expect Giannis to play tomorrow night. Anybody going to the Bucks game, I wouldn't expect Giannis to play. Honestly, probably not even Sunday. They got Brooklyn then on Tuesday, Orlando on Wednesday. I think I don't know anything in the inside info, but maybe kind of target that March 4th home game against Philly as maybe a return for Giannis in that one. You don't have to push it. You got Crowder coming in. Bobby Portis coming back from injury. Get Crowder some minutes. Get him up to game shape. That sort of thing. All right, let's so we got that. We talked some baseball. Willie Adames, we heard from him. He was asked about, his future with the Brewers. He wants to remain with the Brewers. He likes it in Milwaukee, but he also acknowledged that, a lot of shortstops got some moolah this offseason, so it might be kind of hard for the Brewers to be able to keep him if he wants to cash in, which why wouldn't he? But I did say he would like to stay in Milwaukee, play in Milwaukee, but also acknowledges that might be a little out of Milwaukee's price range. Speaking of Milwaukee, MLB.com has an article up there about top 5 hitters in all baseball that looking for bounce back years. Jesse Winker is on that top 5 list, the new Milwaukee Brewers hitter. Got to count on him to be healthy, remain healthy, and that he can find his stroke that he had when he was with Cincinnati. When, going to a friendly left-handed hitting ballpark at AmFam Field there too. So fingers crossed that he's going to be able to find that stroke that he had a few years ago for Cincinnati. Other stuff on the docket here as well. What are some of the other things that may have missed? Just kind of double checking some relevant things here. Yeah, the whole headline on ESPN, Aaron Rodgers out of darkness, exit the Oregon facility. So now the countdown, the watch is going to be on. Nobody had today, the 23rd, but next man up is going to be the Honorable Travis from Maytown. He's got the date for tomorrow. Maybe a little Friday news dump coming at you. But we got a week from today, the combine drills, on-field combine drills start a week from today, believe it or not. So next week, you'll probably see some of the players showing up. They usually do like their pressers, I believe, a couple days before they do their on-field workouts and such. So we got, this Sunday, the 26th, early player arrivals. Then Monday, it's going to be like the registration, the exams, and then team interviews. Early player arrivals for defensive linemen and linebackers on Sunday because they're going to be first up. The Underwear Olympics officially going to be getting started. So, and I don't know what the schedule is going to be like, but usually you hear from GMs and I think even coaches for the coaches who do go there. So, I mean, obviously there's some stuff going on with Green Bay, but will they know beforehand about their quarterback situation or not? And I mean, this will be a time too, even if they don't, or even if they do, and whatever have you, this is an opportunity for GMs to kind of talk face to face and maybe figure out some stuff. This is also a time where you're going to hear a lot about agents talking with teams about some new deals for their players, for their clients. We talked about Alan Lazard. We heard from Alan Lazard. He said that he's been spoiled with his last few years in Green Bay. He's going to, he's already insinuating he's going to take some free agent visits. But he's already kind of said that, he's going to have a high standard for when he talks to these teams because of his experience with Green Bay. Doesn't mean that he's done in Green Bay, because he did allude that, or he did say that his agent and the Packers have been talking. I feel like there's going to be another team, or maybe a couple teams, that are going to be able to offer him more money, and he's going to be gone. He's going to be somewhere else. But that's just my opinion. I can be completely off base on that. We'll see. All right, some other stuff. Let's take a look at the schedule. What do we got for game-wise? College hoops. Northwestern, can they continue their hot streak? They're going to be going up against Illinois tonight, 8 p.m. Northwestern, 1.5 back from the Big Ten. Can they make a little bit of a run here? They've kind of been, I know Badgers fans and Northwestern, especially when it comes to football, you don't like it, but I mean, they've kind of been a fun team to watch. Ever since they got that win against Wisconsin a while back, they've been on a 5-game win streak that included a win against number 1 Purdue, that included a win against number 14 Indiana at that time. They just beat Iowa recently, their most recent game, by 20. You look at their upcoming schedule: Illinois, at Maryland, at home against Penn State, at Rutgers. Maybe. I think they're going in the tournament, but what's their seed going to look like? Joe Lenardi, when you're looking at his seeding here, he's got... So this was from a couple days ago. This was before the win against Iowa. He did have Wisconsin as the last team in. If you're looking at the overall brackets, the 1 seeds were Houston, Alabama, Purdue, and Kansas. I don't think there's too big, not a big surprise in there. Northwestern, he's got as a 6 seed right now, going up against, Oral Roberts as an 11 seed. What are some of the other Big Ten teams on here? Maryland as a 7. We got Iowa as an 8. And that was going down, and this was before their loss to Wisconsin. Wisconsin's actually in one of those 11 seed playing games. He's got it against USC. Michigan State as a 7. Marquette's got it as a 4 seed. Interesting. Okay. I'd put him a little higher, but that's just me. Indiana is a 4. Illinois is a 7. Purdue, we mentioned already. Okay, I think that's all of them on there. I can't wait for March Madness. We're going to have something planned, too, for March Madness bracket challenge, so you can count on that. That's going to be coming up here. Man, Selection Sunday is going to be here before you know it, too. I feel like March, as soon as we get to March, it's just going to come flying. Everything's going to be coming flying at once. March Madness. We've got opening day in March. We've got the draft in April. We got the tailgate tour that we're going to be doing stuff with in April. We've got the Masters in April. Some of you may be turkey hunting like myself in April. Then, before you know it, it's going to be May, opening fishing. Boom. So, love it. Rather be busy. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to do a little cream of the crop with Brandon. We'll catch up. I believe Dr. Crow. We'll get Dr. Crow on for Inside Trainer. We got to double check with him. We'll hit that up. We're gonna switch bench start cut from Tuesdays to Fridays. So we'll do a little bench start cut as well with Brandon tomorrow. We'll hit that up, and we'll obviously talk some Brewers with Brandon, and plus get some updates on some of the regional stuff. We know we got some state going on with wrestling and such. We've got, I know, playoff hoops maybe kind of altered, especially with like today and such with the weather. But we'll get all the updates with Brandon on some of our regional stuff. He'll be in the 7 o'clock hour all the way to the finish line at 9 o'clock. I wanted to mention, you know what? I'm going to save it for an episode of the Man Cave podcast. I had a chance to kind of do some binge watching yesterday. And I don't know if any of you have Netflix, but if you do, and you're a golf fan or you're a sports fan, check out the golf one on Netflix, Full Swing. It's fantastic. The big thing I took away from that thing, like, I'm a Tiger guy. We know of some of these golfers by name. But to kind of see them behind the scenes, to learn a little bit more from, like, Tony Finau. Tony Finau one was fantastic. Justin Thomas, Rory, some of the rookies on there too. It was awesome. Now you feel like, because I feel like, especially in a sport like golf, we're so focused on Tiger. We know the names of these other guys, but now you know a little bit more about them, a little bit of a behind-the-scenes thing. It's like, okay, now I actually know more about these players. I can root for these players now. I don't always have to watch for Tiger. It's fantastic. Go and watch it. Highly recommend it. All right, DP and Adanitz or whoever's filling in for them this week, they're up next. Be safe on the roads today. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, just past 6. We'll talk to you then.